When we're allocating capital, we're asking ourselves, if we are investing in a drink or in a food, is it the fried chicken or is it the healthy, organic option that is good for the customer that we would rather see flourishing in the world?
Hello, and welcome to Working with me, Dan Doriani, hosting a podcast where we explore faith, work, culture, and the way believers can make a difference in their corner of the world. So my guest today is Robin John. He is the founder and CEO of Eventide, a Boston-based investment and advising firm. He co-founded it in 2007 with his best friend or really good friend, I'm not sure which one it is, Finney. He gets called in the book that's forthcoming, more on that in a minute. Finney Kuruvilla, is that right? Kuruvilla? How do you say it?
Kuruvilla.
Kuruvilla. Okay, I should have stopped when I was ahead. And Finney is the co-chief investment officer. Before you started in investments, you led a house church together, which you could talk about if you want to or not, in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And they felt that God was calling them to the investment world. And now you have $5.5 billion. You're on Morningstar now. People can see how you're doing publicly. And Robin is responsible for, I'm going to say, general leadership, kind of like the CEO, but that's not his title. Culture, strategy, vision, operations, trying to make sure you do your work for the common good, Christian values of justice and peace and caring for God's creation, being good stewards, along with support for humans in families and communities and individuals. Does this sound about right? What do you want to add, Robin?
Yes, that is a very good summary. I am just extremely blessed. What we do, we call investing that makes the world rejoice. And I'm so blessed to be here with you, Dan. Yeah, I have a lot to say, but really it comes down to seeking to honor God in our work, and we do the work of investing.
Yeah, that's terrific. I found out about you in part through a friend, but also through having the opportunity to read your book, The Good Investor. But you tell your life story, and you were born in India, came to America as a child, and then quickly had career success, and you went back to India. And you went back to India as a very prosperous, well-treated American business leader. Would you just tell the story and how that story impacted, shaped your life and your vision?
Yeah, I graduated from Tufts University, and I took a job at BNY, a custody bank, and they treated me very well. And I was traveling to India. They asked me whether I would help them to create the back offices in a place called Pune, India, to help with outsourcing with income collections and tax reclaim and a bunch of other departments. And for me, the issue was that I was struggling with a sacred, secular mindset. So even leading up to this point, I was praying that God would call me into ministry. And while I was at school at Tufts, I tried everything. I tried all sorts of degrees. I jumped around, ultimately did a degree in economics, but I was really not focused because I was hoping that I could be a pastor. I needed to hear from God that God wanted me to be a pastor. And I had in my mind this idea that the work that mattered to God was work of the pastor, the missionary. So I find myself in India, and I'm staying in the guest house. And as you noted, the employer treated me very well. But what I saw was that the guest house was outsourced to a local vendor. And there were two guys that worked at the guest house. Their names rhymed. It was Amal and Kamal. These two guys who were in their mid-20s, similar to me at the time, took good care of me. Every morning, Kamal would ask me, "Sir, what do you want for breakfast? Sir, can I iron your clothes for you? Sir, what do you want for dinner?" Every day they take care of me. And in the evenings, I would stand in the kitchen and talk to them, get to know them personally as they prepared the food. And behind the kitchen, I saw a pantry. And the kitchen has a very, like a stone floor. And, my bedroom was air conditioned, brand new bed. Kitchen was a humid, hot room. And that pantry, I noticed there was a little prayer mat in the pantry. So I knew exactly what it was. And I said, "Do you guys sleep here?" And they said, "Yes, sir, we do." And by the way, I had told them many times not to call me sir,
Right,
but they
right,
but yeah,
sure.
but
Right,
they could not help themselves.
right.
And it turned out that they both curled up together, slept in a small pantry together. I asked my employer to give them a bed, but the employer decided that they were not the employer's employees. They were,
Yes.
the local vendor house, guest house.
They said they had no control.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
And I really struggled with it. I couldn't sleep in that house anymore. At nighttime, I would just think about these guys. And I started really trying to make a change there. And then I saw how another American colleague treated Kamal. Kamal was walking in through the front door, and my American colleague said, servants shouldn't use the front door. And Kamal walked in, looked at me, and said, sir, I am a human being too. And I just sat there shocked. But in my heart, I felt the pain that Kamal was feeling because I'm also from India. I grew up in a very poor house in southern India. My grandfather was a pastor. We didn't have a bathroom in our house. Our backyard was a cemetery. So I really made a decision in my mind at that point that I didn't care about making money, didn't care about just profit. I wanted my life to matter. I wanted my work to matter. I wanted to bless the poor. I wanted to do work that was God honoring.
Yeah, thank you. That's. Let me just commend the book. It comes out July 22nd, 2025, and it's just so well written that I meant to read 10 or 20 pages, ended up reading 50 pages all at once, and then I had to put it down and get to my work. Let me just jump to what you're doing right now. My perception of people, Christians who are in investing, is that for many people, the world of finance and investing is identical no matter what you do. You look for value, you look for profitability, you assess risks and so forth. And then the faith is something like an add-on afterward. That is to say, you conduct yourself with integrity, but a lot of secular people do too. I mean, you kind of have to in that field. You treat customers well, which is your staff well, you try to do that. You comply with all the rules and regulations. And you may even try to share your faith, you may try to have a Bible study and so forth. But fundamentally, enterprise is almost identical to secular enterprise. The way you do investing in Eventide is different. You try to weave your faith into your enterprise from the foundation up. Can you tell us how you do that?
The two words I often think about is intrinsic versus instrumental. And I think what a lot of Christians do is we try to bring our faith into the thing that we do. But we think about the thing that we do as very secular. Before starting Eventide, myself and Finney, we spent 6 months praying. We would fast and pray together once a week. And one of the verses that really touched me was Romans chapter 12, verse 2. It talks about not conforming to the patterns of the world, but renewing your minds so that you may test and approve God's good, pleasing, and perfect will. I think many of us need a renewing of our minds. And so when we think about business, we think about business as the same way the world thinks about it. We think about business as this profit machine where the only focus and the purpose of business is to generate a profit. Then we try to bring our faith into that business somehow by maybe sharing the gospel with a colleague or maybe starting some sort of a prayer ministry or something.
Or tuition for young disadvantaged students out of the profits. Many things.
Right, giving some of the
Yes.
profits away, exactly. But as I studied Genesis and all of the Bible, in Genesis 1:26, we see the Bible says that we were made in God's image. It says so that we can steward his creation and have dominion, as the psalmist David tells us, dominion over the work of God's hands. What we know about God in Genesis is that he's a good God that does good work. He calls good everything he does, and then he makes us in his image to continue the good work that he started. Just to give you an example of this is a couple of years ago, I went to Italy with my family, and we were looking at the statue of David, Michelangelo's statue. I sat there thinking, man, how beautiful. It's a handsome looking statue. Imagine if Michelangelo said, okay, I'm starting the statue. Now, I am giving Robin the dominion over the work of my hands. What would that statue look like? I would have messed it up, right?
Right.
You don't even want me touching like his nose or lock of hair, okay?
Right.
But I think what's really encouraging to me as I study the Bible is that while God gives us dominion over the work of his hands, he makes us in his image so that he can give us dominion over the work of his hands. Right? So if I were made in the image of Michelangelo, maybe I could continue the work that Michelangelo started. But because I am made in God's image, God could trust me to reflect his image into my work because I am continuing God's work. And so that's what we as Christians have to really think about in our work. I do the work of investing. How can I bring that good God's image into my work? How can I do work? How can I do investing that God could call good?
Yes.
How, if you're running a business, how do you run a business that God could call good? What does that look like? Is it just about generating profit? Or should that business somehow partner with God's intent to provide for the needs of the world and to bring healing in the world, right? So can we partner with that through our business, through our investing?
Which would then mean something like taking care of workers who are treated with very low dignity or no dignity, or sleeping on a cement floor with a little mat on top of it. What can we do? In other words, the goal is not to, if I may say so, the goal in the firms you invest in, you're looking for firms that treat their people well, not for people who pay them as little as they possibly can to make as much money as they possibly can, but to treat them well so that working for this company, which you helped succeed by getting investors to invest in that firm, so that that firm makes money and treats everybody well.
That's right. That's right. We really do believe that if you follow the right order, that God's principles work in this life.
Right.
It's not just for the next life, right?
Right.
Or for eternity. We do believe that companies that take care of their employees, the Bible calls them the hired servants
Yes.
in Leviticus 19, and we see that in James, Malachi,
And John.
Isaiah.
Yeah, many
Lots
places.
of verses about how we should treat our hired servants, our employees. And if we treat them well, they will then give us better product.
Right.
Right. The company is spending less effort in training and rehiring and replacing workers. They're going to get more productivity from their workers, more passion from their workers, better customer service from their workers. And now you have customers who are happy and delighted. And those customers are going to become net promoters for your company. And therefore, your company is going to thrive and investors should do well. Companies that focus first on profits often make short-term decisions that
Yes.
ultimately is good for no one, not even the investor.
It's good for a quarter, and then your workers
Right.
start quitting because you're treating them poorly. So yes, you can hire them, but as soon as they can move on, they do. So I was talking to somebody just recently about the mommy shift in car making, and the idea is, cars, and this is an automotive executive. He said it's not easy to have a mommy shift. A mommy shift is 8:30 to 5 or something like that. And the idea is these are single moms or maybe working moms, but they have to get their kids dropped off to school or to childcare, one or the other. It's so much easier to just go 7 to 3, 3 to 11, 11 to 7. It's easier, but they get better workers and they get more loyalty from their workers if they're taking care to make their lives livable.
Yes. The Bible has so much to say about loving your neighbor as yourself. The first time that verse shows up in the Bible is in Leviticus 19, and it speaks to business people. It tells them how to treat their hired servants, how to treat the poor in the community, and goes on to say, love your neighbor as yourself. So business people should think about these stakeholders as neighbors that we are called to love and care for.
Yeah. Am I my brother's keeper? The answer is yes, you are your
Yes.
brother's keeper. So we agree totally that it's possible for a firm to be run by a Christian or non-Christian, and they might make their breakfast cereal just the same amount of sugar and preservatives and food dyes that we're now learning aren't so good. Plumbing supplies, printers, vitamins, whatever. It's possible to run it exactly like a secular person would, or it's possible to run it somewhat differently or maybe even significantly differently. But you're not actually running companies, you're investing in companies. So how do you go about encouraging believers, I presume, and maybe some non-believers invest in Eventide? I'm sure some do, so that they understand what you're driving at. You're not just going to invest in any old firm. If you look into a firm and you find that they're exploiting their workers, you either won't invest or you'll say, hey, we'd be glad to invest, but you have to change your ways. Is that right? How do you do it?
Yes. We want to invest and partner with companies. Investing is the allocation of capital, right? So we want to allocate capital because when we invest, we're helping the company.
Right.
And we want to allocate capital into the companies that we believe have good products and good practices. First question is the product good for the world? Does it promote human flourishing? Does it promote the common good or not? A company like a tobacco company, alcohol or pornography or abortion, abortifacients, these are things we just naturally avoid investing in. So Romans
Can
12,
I interrupt you and ask, are there any others that we'd say, okay, we get those. Are there any others that you don't invest in that might cause people to hesitate? Why would you not invest in Coca-Cola? I mean, doesn't it taste good? Why would you not invest in, I don't know, video games or Boeing, which has weapons of destruction? Do you invest in those kinds of things or not?
We don't. We do not. And so I'll explain. So
Yeah, please do. Because the ones you mentioned are easy, like gambling and tobacco. And
I picked those examples on purpose to limit debate.
Okay, yes, right. Well, we want to have a debate here, though.
Yeah, so we ultimately want to invest in companies that we believe are doing good in the world. With each of the examples you gave, ultimately, something like a sugary drink is not the same as abortion. Okay, it's not the same.
Right.
But when we're allocating capital, we're asking ourselves, if we are investing in a drink or in a food, is it the fried chicken or is it the healthy organic option that is good for the customer that we would rather see flourishing in the world? Right? So we're not saying necessarily that Coca-Cola or the sweet sugary drink is bad. We're not saying that the fried chicken is bad. We're just asking ourselves, what do we want to see more in the world? What do we want to see less in the world, right? So as we're investing, we're rooting for the thing we invest in. We want to see more dividends. We want to see these companies grow. Same thing with alcohol. Christians will challenge me and they'll say, Robin, are you saying it's wrong to drink alcohol? And I'm saying, no, I'm not saying it's wrong to drink alcohol, but you have to understand that a large portion of the revenue that these alcohol companies receive comes from people that shouldn't be drinking, right? So as an investor, it's not always is it right or wrong. The question is, where are these profits coming from? Is it ill-gotten gain, as Proverbs 1 talks about, or is it well-gotten gain? But also the question about what do you want to root for in the world? That's where you want to put your capital. And so do you want to see more weaponry? I'm not saying weaponry is always wrong.
The people in Ukraine are glad they have weapons right now.
That's right. Yeah. So I'm not saying weaponry is always wrong. I'm not saying the government shouldn't have weaponry to defend its country. But I'm just saying, do I choose to profit from mass proliferation of weaponry? Because that does lead to death, right? Do I choose to profit from that or not? Do I want to see more weaponry in the world or less? If you want to see less weaponry in the world, you don't want to invest in weaponry because your dividends are going to get smaller and smaller, not bigger.
Right. Yeah. So one way you put it to me this way when we talked earlier, you said, again, as you know, it's not that sugary drinks are evil or that video games are evil or that, fighter airplanes are evil, but there's so many good things to invest in this world. Let's invest in that. Invest in things about which we have no qualms whatsoever. If I may, I'm going to tell you the passage that I find to be so important for this, and that is Jesus' teaching in Matthew 25, where he calls the righteous to himself and says, come to me because I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. I was naked, you clothed me. I was in prison, you visited me, etc. And so those are all clearly good things. and you're not condemning video games. You're just saying they can be addictive, and so I'm not going to invest in video games. Maybe I'm wrong. Do you invest in video games?
We don't.
Yeah, I kind of thought probably not. So do I have that right? Is that your view?
You have that absolutely right. I think with certain areas, certain issues, I think for me it is black and white. There are lots of gray areas. And for us, really, it's about we want to pursue the good. So we have an avoid, embrace, engage framework at
Yes.
Eventide. So hate what is evil, but cling to what is good, right? So the hate what is evil, I think those examples are clear. Where we often can easily get debate over are the gray areas. But when we think about the possibilities in the stock market, there are just so many good examples to invest in. So
Please tell us some good things you invest in.
yes. So a trucking company is one of our top holdings. This company is known for better on-time delivery rates than their competitors.
Good.
Okay. So their customers are more delighted. I think it's like 90 something percent of their drivers sleep in their own beds every night. So they figured out logistics so that these are usually husbands and men who are driving. They're sleeping in their homes with their children and their wives every night.
Not in the back of their truck, in their home.
Not in the back of their,
That's
not
hard
in the
to
motel.
that's hard to do.
Right. And
Yeah.
yet they are delivering better on-time delivery rates than their competitors. So they figured out logistics to help the customer and the employee. And they have better safety systems built into their trucks. These are newer trucks that are more environmentally friendly and safer on the roads. That's better for the society, for the environment. So that's an example.
That's great. I have some friends in the transportation industry, so I'm sure they would want to talk to you right now. So you say avoid, embrace, engage. So give me some gray areas. Engage means you invest. Avoid means you
Do you
don't
mind
invest.
one more example if I gave
Yeah,
one
please,
more?
please.
So a third of our investments are in biotech.
Okay.
So Finney, the co-founder of Eventide, he's got an MD, PhD, master's in computer science and electrical engineering
Okay.
from Harvard and MIT and Caltech. And
So he's pretty smart. That's what you're saying?
very smart, also high integrity, just
Right.
loves God, loves
Yep.
Jesus. And he, because of his background, as we started Eventide, we were heavily investing in biotech. And examples in biotech, like sometimes I get teary-eyed when I just see what these companies are doing. So for example, Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which is something little boys get, 1 in 30,000. By the age of 18, many of these boys are paralyzed and they end up dying.
Yes.
And so we invested in a company where we saw little boys getting out from their wheelchairs, running up and down stairs. That's an example. Another example is a company we're investing in that is treating schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is a major issue with the homeless population in America. So if you want to treat homelessness, treating schizophrenia is a way to treat the homelessness in America.
Yes.
So these are just examples of companies that are doing such innovative and wonderful good work that we get to align our capital with versus some of the bad examples we talked about.
Yeah. I mostly live in St. Louis, and that's the center of agricultural biotech. And that's what they work on. And I have a variety of friends there. I'm probably going to connect you with one of them because it's what he's doing is just beautiful to behold in terms of using technology to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
So I appreciate. You want to give us one more, or you want to give us
Yeah.
a gray area, one where you decided, ooh, maybe not. I think we're not condemning it, but maybe not. What was a decision point that was difficult for you?
Yeah. So the best example I would say is something that we thought was good, then we found evil, and then we had to divest. Okay. So solar energy, we thought it was good. We thought, okay, this is a good way to maybe help the environment, and we kind of leaned into solar energy.
Global warming, those sorts of issues.
Yeah.
Right.
And ultimately, we saw slave labor in the supply chain. In Western China, there's a place called Xinjiang and a group of people called the Uyghur people. And these are people from the Middle East that migrated to Western China. They're Muslims. And they're religious and ethnic minorities. So what the Chinese government was doing was putting these men in re-education camps, which were pretty much concentration camps. And the soldiers would rape and abuse the wives and daughters and live in the homes with the wives. They put cameras everywhere. And when we found out this was happening, this was not happening directly in the solar companies we were investing in, but they were working with supply chains.
It's a supply chain issue, right?
It's a supply chain issue, exactly. So companies from the mining of the polysilicon to the creation of the wafers, ingots, all of it. So we started engaging these companies. We wrote white papers. We started engaging a paper we wrote. We even sent to government, and we had one of our analysts even go to Washington, D.C. Ultimately, what American companies did, many of them, is they started working with these supply chains that created bifurcated supply chains.
Right.
So the supply chain into the U.S. was clean, but it was still tainted into the rest of the world. So we didn't feel that it went far enough. So we had to divest from, I think, all of our solar energy companies.
Yeah.
So
By the way, that's the way slave labor goes throughout the world. I mean, when slaves were being introduced to the Americas, to North America, United States of America, they deliberately would send them through maybe a Caribbean island. So it would be impossible to tell that this person was actually captured as a slave. Oh, here's a person. We don't know where they came from. So when people do evil, they try to cover their tracks.
Yes.
And that's what you're trying to uncover. Can I ask a question about that? So one of my main questions of you when I was preparing for this interview was, given that your knowledge is always finite, how, and you answered it, but I would like to hear you answer in principle a little bit more. Given that knowledge is always finite, you can't tell when you begin to invest in a firm what it does or what it will do in 5 years. How do you handle your limited intelligence when you begin to invest? The answer is you keep on investigating. That's what I take to be the answer.
We have to keep investigating. We have a group called the Business 360 team.
Okay.
And their job is to uncover and research the ethics. And there's a framework they're operating based on, good products, good practices, avoid, embrace, engage, looking at the 6 stakeholders, customers, employees, supply chain.
Wait, slow down and say those very slowly so people can take notes. 6 stakeholders are customers, employees,
supply chain, host communities, environment, and society.
Say it one more time.
Yes, CES is an easy way to remember.
Good.
Customers, employees, supply chain, communities, environment, and society.
Society. Oh, I love it. 6 stakeholders. That's beautiful. That's a great takeaway. Is that in your book?
Yes, it is. It is in the book.
Terrific.
And these are 6 neighbors that the company should be seeking to serve. So we have a framework. And again, we miss things, right? And I want this to be a movement. And if our listener sees a problem in one of our portfolio companies, we want them to reach out to us. But we really do want to do well in this area.
So let me ask, I know what avoid means. What does embrace, engage? What's the difference between, I guess engaging means we're going to look into you, and embrace is we're going to invest in you. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, good. And then if people have money that they want to invest, they're probably going to say something like, but Robin, you're leaving all these really good opportunities to make money off the table. So surely virtue investing is going to give me less money. And this team, this 360 team, that's great, but I bet you have to pay their salaries. And surely if there's a firm that doesn't investigate that, there'll just be more savings. I'll get more money. Why should I invest? Do you actually make a profit for people who invest in Eventide?
Yes.
Is it a good one?
Do.
Okay.
Yeah. So, there are years where we will, perform better than the market, the benchmarks, years where we don't perform as well, right? So the goal is over the long period of times, to outperform the benchmarks. And investors are welcome to look at our fact sheets, go to morningstar.com and see how we are performing. The thing I would say, though, is a couple of things. One is there is research. There's a group called the Biblically Responsible Investing Institute, and they have done research that shows that they did an analysis between, I think it was 2000 and 2019 is where the research was done. Over the 19-year period, their screened portfolio, where they screened for like 5 or 6 issues.
Yep.
some of the major Christian concerns. And there were years where they underperformed by 0.5% or 1%, some years where they outperformed. Over the 19-year period, their performance was exactly the same as the S&P 500.
Okay.
So just doing the negative screening, I don't think should lead to much over the long period of time, underperformance or outperformance. What I do believe is that when you factor in the embrace, like the good factors, like when you're able to find companies with better customer happiness scores, lower employee turnover rates, and things like that, we do believe that that should lead to a more healthy culture and better long-term investments.
Right.
That said, when we think about generosity, I think most Christians have a make all you can to give all you can mindset.
Yeah. Which John Wesley said 200 years ago.
Exactly. John Wesley said, make all you can to give all you can, but make all you can without hurting yourself or your neighbor in body or in soul. You see that principle throughout the Bible. Okay, so Deuteronomy 23:18 says not to bring the earnings of a male or a female prostitute into the temple to pay any vow, for this is an abomination to the Lord your God.
Yes.
Judas, Matthew 27, when he brings the blood money into the temple, they don't take it, right? So this principle you see throughout the Bible. And one of the things that I try to challenge people, challenge Christians to think about is generosity holistically, right? So part of being generous is being willing to make less when you have to, right? So if you talk to most Christians today and said, hey, you could make a lot of money selling slaves.
Yeah, right. They would say no.
They would say no, because they know that's wrong.
Right.
Why are we not saying the same thing when it comes to pornography and abortion?
Right. Or tobacco,
or tobacco, or any of these things.
Yeah. Or junk food.
Yes.
Right. I'm guessing you know, and I'm not going to name names, but there's food that's so processed that there's no nutrition left in it.
That's
I'm
right.
guessing you don't invest in snacks of that kind.
We don't. If you look at our holdings, we've always been very careful. Again, Finney, co-founder of Eventide, being a doctor, he just cares about this stuff so much. And even the Bible has verses about animals. The Bible says a righteous person will care for the life of an animal. So just mass animal factory farming and just cruelty towards animals, these are all things that we factor for as we are investing.
Yeah, that's great. Another way to put it is that investing doesn't mean just putting your money in a firm. It means actually engaging the firm and investing in it. That is to say, putting something of yourself into it. We invest in a company when we buy stock, but we can actually engage that company. Anything else you want to say? Those are the questions I wanted to discuss with you. I have a lightning round of a few questions. Did I give you an opportunity to say everything you wanted to say, or is there something left on the table?
I think you touched on everything.
Okay.
Regarding the generosity question, I think the way I answered it was sufficient, but ultimately, like the widow's mite,
Yes.
generosity isn't about just what or how much we give away. Jesus is also looking to see how we live our lives and like what we hold on to. And there were rich people giving lots of money away. So this idea of make all you can to give all you can, I don't think that is the sum of the matter when it comes to a biblical approach to generosity.
I don't think it was a bad thing for Wesley to say at times to highly wealthy people. He spoke to everybody. He would speak to wealthy people and he would speak to poor people. I don't think it's a terrible thing to say to a wealthy person, but it's not the only thing we say.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, lightning round. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Number one, do you have a piece of advice? Someone who's starting a business, a new entrepreneur, they say, oh, someday I hope you invest in my company. And you would say, well, if you want to create a company that I'd like to invest in, what would you say?
That one is easy.
Okay.
So I've thought so much about this question for myself.
Yes.
Right. As an entrepreneur, is this something that is good for the world? Is this something the world needs? Is this something that you're willing to sacrifice for because the world needs it? If it is, pursue it. I think way too many entrepreneurs are thinking about how can I make a lot of money? And, that's not the right way to think about a business, a product you want to bring into the world. Think first, how can I impact the world for good through this business, through the products and practices?
Yeah, not what market has high margins and gives me a chance to make a lot of money.
Right.
Even if it's garbage, yeah. Okay, if other than your book called The Good Investor, what book would you have someone read in this general vicinity of stewardship of money and investments and so forth? Is there somebody else you like?
Yeah, in this general, so when it comes to investing, there isn't a lot of written on this topic. But in the faith and work world, there are a couple of really good books. One would be Every Good Endeavor, Tim Keller. Another one that I like a lot is Work Matters by Tom Nelson. And now Tom is a pastor that started an organization called Made to Flourish, where he is trying to bridge the gap between Sunday and Monday. And I think his insights are very helpful.
These are both friends of mine, you mentioned, and wonderful men. So yes, Every Good Endeavor and Work Matters are good books. What would you like to accomplish in 5 years? What would you like to look back on and say, I'm so glad I was able to get that done by God's grace with his favor?
Yeah, so when we started in 2008, I don't think my vision was big enough. And over the years, I think God has kind of expanded that vision. And I don't just want to build a firm. And we're actually managing 6.5 billion now.
Okay.
Yeah, so, from just a pure business standpoint, we're doing well. But if I walk into any church today and I say, hey, is your investments aligned with God's heart for the world? People haven't even thought about it.
That's right.
Like what I call investing that makes the world rejoice. Most people haven't thought about investing in a way that is honoring to God. So over the next 5 years, I really want this to become a movement that is much bigger than Eventide. And that's one of the reasons I wrote the book, The Good Investor, is to help catalyze that movement. I really hope that Christians broadly would start to think about how their capital can impact the world for good.
Well, Rob and John, it's been good to have you for this episode. I believe in what you're doing. I'm glad to commend it to the people who listen to this podcast. And it's been a pleasure meeting you.
You too, Dan. It's my honor. Thank you for having me.
Working with Dan Doriani is a production of the Center for Faith and Work St. Louis. We seek to promote faithfulness in the workplace, in education, in discipleship, and in the stories of believers who've applied their faith at work. If you want to put your faith to work and change your corner of the world, visit our website, the Center for Faith and Work St. Louis. Look for faithandworkstl.org. That's one word. We'll help you start a cohort with like-minded believers who also want to practice their faith at work. This podcast is donor-supported. To keep us going, please donate on our website. Maybe more importantly, you can support us by listening, by subscribing, by sharing, by liking us, by posting us on your favorite platform, or go old school and tell a friend.